Dear ladies, and possibly also gentlemen, out there on your screens, it's my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of my fellow Women for Metals to our third tea time. Today, our theme is how women in the metals industry lead and how they succeed. Again, we can unfortunately only meet virtually. Do you not miss to properly network? I actually do very much. So we decided to choose a different format for this tea time and to focus on networking. Thankfully, state-of-the-art IT systems facilitate this very much. Most certainly, a teacup is also necessary. So I hope you all have your cups ready. But before we start our networking sessions, I'm so glad to announce two fabulous keynotes to you. We will start with our colleague Inge Hofkens, who started her career with Metallo in 1993 as a scrap purchaser. Since then, she went through different leadership roles, first in purchasing, later in sales, and took the position as Managing Director of Aurubis Belgium in January this year. Inge will share her personal Woman in Metal story with us, while she will be focusing on important success factors. Inge, it is a great pleasure to have you with us.
Hi, good afternoon to all of you participating in this third edition of the Women's for Metals Tea Time. I'm Inge Hofkens. I'm living in the north of Belgium, married. I have two kids, 18 and 21 years old. And I'm breathing metals since the early days of my professional life. My colleagues asked me to talk to you about how women lead and succeed. And I was thinking to how I will cross you some of the thoughts that I have around it, and thought that the best way to go would be to share you just the experience of the journey that I have been crossed so far. Why I do it like this, you will see that I will touch on some points that I would like also to share with you in what made me feel really happy in being in this metals world and being able to just do my job as I would like to do it best. For that, I have to go back to the early days of my start in this professional life. Never thought I would even become ever a commercial. When I studied applied economic science, I actually wanted to be in financial management, rather involved in investment projects. But as the market or the job market was really, really poor in that context in the early 90s, I kind of jumped into something that I didn't even know I was capable of doing, being a commercial. And that is how I came to work for Metallo. My role was to go and buy scrap in the French region. And for that, I was trained 1 month on the yard to kind of understand the different qualities in copper scrap, which I didn't know at that point of time. I thought copper was red and that was it. Soon I learned there was many more things. However, also be sent out to Paris and Metz warehouses where I was then trained to learn the commercial activities. After 2 months, I returned back to the headquarters and I was asked where I thought I was having to, or I had to resign again. I was asked to go and work on the German market. Hence, so it happened. I was sent out to the south of Germany and got an apartment there. They put me somewhere outside of Frankfurt because Frankfurt was too difficult or too dangerous, it was thought, for a 22-year-old girl. So I was located in Froschhausen, which most potentially many of my German colleagues would not even know where to find it. That being said, so I started there. I didn't speak that much of German, so that was a difficulty in itself and a real big challenge. And I didn't know really a lot about the scrap market. Then again, the warehouse where I had to work, there were two people working. One was a warehouse manager and one was the operator, unloading and loading the material. And that was it. So it was basically the three of us. And I think that was, for me, in the beginning, something that I didn't realize, but actually key to keep on going whenever I was driving around where I, first of all, could not buy, or where the scrap dealers tried all the tricks that they can use to kind of let me buy something too expensive. And still had to learn about the complexity of the metal business. And these two people, they really helped me also in trying to understand, trying to learn the bits and pieces and what have you. And at the same time, the fact that I was responsible for having two people that were dependent on my performance, I think that definitely was a key start of how I still look at things today. Luckily, I got through that phase. We did, I think, a great job in the Beerse plant. They laughed at me while calling me the queen of copper irony. That was a material of low value, something that was relatively easy to buy, but it didn't matter. That was how I could get into these markets and kept me going on. What I definitely learned from this period also is that we should never be afraid of things. As I didn't know anything, I kept on asking a lot of people. Wherever I came with the counterparts that I met, but also the people that I saw on the yard, people that do know about what they are talking about, I just asked them the whole time. I even had some colleagues that sometimes said, now you have asked all your questions that you can ask for the day. It's over, that quota. We'll be back the next day. In any case, I think that's really, really important. Never be afraid of asking if you don't know. We cannot know everything, and sure, no one should know everything either. Then from there, so after about 1.5 to 2 years, I got promoted to the role of regional manager for the German-speaking countries. And that in itself also was definitely a next step into the learning curve of how I could develop myself. I was the last one actually coming into the group of people that were working on the German speaking area. And I was then, of course, in the eyes of my colleagues, definitely not the most experienced, or not the best expert on hand. And that, I think, was something that I was confronted with often when they were giving me feedback on certain items. And definitely also some of my colleagues, of course, were asking why was I not assigned for that role. And they might not have really liked that the last comer, let's say, would take the place that they might have eyed for. I think I crossed that momentum by really listening well to my colleagues and by allowing them to just continue what they were doing before, and just having them using their expertise also towards me, towards the broader context of management, towards our counterparts outside in the world as well. And that was definitely a key parameter to cross that momentum. Listen carefully to their needs and also try to communicate at best and very open and transparently of my expectations towards them. In that whole phase, I think we really grew together. We had a lot of initiatives over those years coming forward, a lot of projects, like we started cable shredding, we started doing trading on electronic scrap, we started buying catalysts, cutting catalysts, which later on we then participated together with others in the market. So multiple nice initiatives which we created all together and learned a lot from it. And I think that one is definitely also something that defined a big part of the path at that momentum, is that while we were developing as an organization, is also to seek to where I could develop myself, but most also how I could help my colleagues develop themselves. And I think with this gradual growth of taking on initiatives and really see where everyone could feel at best with their talents was really something that gave me a huge amount of energy. And to give you one example on that one, at a certain point in time, we saw that there would be maybe some more potential in approaching more the industrial counterparts or potential sources than just being active in the scrap trade sector or segment of the market. By doing so, kind of had a huge amount of complex materials that actually the plant didn't want to process, and where I had really big difficulties in getting those materials finally delivered to the plant, and convincing people, or trying to convince my colleagues in the plant to actually try out and see what that would bring us. A huge momentum also to kind of, let's say, introduce negotiation into the organization, while at the same time normally you expect that you are negotiating with your counterparts outside. There was a lot of negotiation involved internally as well, to convince that those materials could actually be much more of interest and could actually contribute far more to the business model that we had. And while doing so, I really learned that building a right and a good network in and outside the plant is tremendously important to get there. I learned a whole lot of the metallurgical expertise from my colleagues. Of course, I will never be a metallurgist, and I will never pretend to be one, but exchanging those ideas and having them or exchanging with them the kind of difficulties and challenges that we faced outside towards our counterparts really led to the fact that we could jointly move it forward, and that was definitely the start of our group processing more complex materials, and ultimately also brought us financially a better contribution. Then in the early 2000s, times were really bad in the metal sector. Metal prices were really, really low, and it was really difficult to actually earn money. And that was close to impossible. We were writing red numbers all along, and we had to kind of cross the phase to go into a new momentum. At that point in time, our organizational structure changed, and I moved from being active in the purchasing side to the sales side of our business. A very different kind of setup, very different kind of counterparts, very different kind of communication lines and levels of talking also. But you really, again, important in a path of development. And the positive thing was also that I could bring the experience from what I learned on the procurement side into the negotiations on the sales side as well. And together with the team, we actually grew into looking very different at the customer portfolio, on how to approach our customers, and to really bring some new value also for our customers, not just the product and selling the product, but really trying to sell the service that we could bring to them. While doing so, on the sales side and in being in that new role, after a couple of years, because of the way of working and our structure, I was asked to participate in the executive committee, which at the momentum where I did so, I joined as the single woman of the group. We were 7 plus me, and I must say that was in itself also a challenge. I kind of all of a sudden had the feeling that with whatever I was doing before and the path I have been crossing was relatively easy. I never felt really like big blockers or big momentums where I was challenged so much that I couldn't overcome. But being part of this new team actually was a different kind of thing. And it was mainly in the fact that I think that the way women think, or the way that we bring topics forward, the way on how we communicate, the way on how we get to that point of sharing ideas and initiatives with others, often we are bringing these topics in a very different way. And in the beginning it felt quite awkward. I think often I had this idea like, I'm kind of talking to them, but I can see on their faces that they don't understand what am I bringing here. And that brought me to kind of learn to how you have to go about, or how you can go about in each and every member of that team at that point in time, which soon took me to the point that I had to talk to them also individually, set aside from the normal formal meetings that we were doing, in kind of understanding and testing the ideas, testing the initiatives, and seeing how far I could go ahead with them before really bringing them to the full team as such. And again, there, I think it's a lot about connection, a lot about the network, a lot about trying to put the seeds left and right to see how the reaction is, and getting the feedback, taking the feedback away, and learning how to grow from that feedback going forward. So it happens, I have been then about 10 years participating in the executive committee, onboarded also new activities like market intelligence, commercial intelligence, competitive intelligence, hedging activities, learned and grew really from there, until a point where you kind of are really comfortable in your zone and in what you're doing, because you know what you're doing at that point in time already. And then comes a time that you kind of feel you're ready for something else, and maybe ready to take on some new challenges. And that was also a real good game changer for me that I experienced in January 2016. I told my team I wanted them to be fully independent of me being there as of the 1st of 2018. They were looking at me at first like, Inge, what are you going to do then? I said, I have multiple potential to do things, and I have really a lot of ideas of things that I can do. I just can't do them because I don't have the time. So we really have to go there, that what I do today, that you kind of onboard it, and that we go together to that momentum where actually you are becoming also much stronger in what you're doing. And that was a real big change. With the team, when I saw 1st of January 2018, we were already there 2 months ahead of the timeline that we set ourselves. And it was literally like that I could free up time for doing completely other stuff. And that was maybe necessary, because then came the sale of our group around the corner, in which I have been participating throughout the whole journey, from the vendor due diligence phase onto the management presentations, onto talking to potential candidates, counterparts that would be interested in buying the company, traveled around the world in that perspective. And then, of course, afterwards, when the short list of candidates was there, ran through a huge amount of due diligence and an even more tougher period of merger control process. But I'm really happy and proud that we managed to do so. And I think the organization landed in really just the right partner. And I'm so happy today that I can participate in the Aurubis group, which for the last couple of weeks had the chance also to meet more and more physically also with the colleagues everywhere in the organization. Setting again or resetting a different way of connecting and adding to the network. And this is really, I think, what I wanted to share with you today, a bit like this from the virtual background, and happy to share some more thoughts with you anywhere today or in the future. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Inge. Your story is very impressive and inspiring. I can resonate with your success factors. And indeed, never be afraid of asking. For our second keynote, we are very happy to have Mirjam Rolfe on board. 8 years ago, Mirjam Rolfe founded Chances in Change. Her passion is to support individuals, teams, and organizations in discovering and seizing learning opportunities. She's convinced that any new situation offers chances for development. Mirjam is currently earning a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology. And she's the author of the book Positive Psychology and Organizational Resilience, published in German by Springer. Mirjam is originally from Switzerland, but she has been living in the outskirts of Hamburg for 16 years together with her husband. She loves being outdoors, running or hiking, and enjoys reading. Marion and I met her during a resilience and change management training with our sales team. We now invite you all to be as inspired by her and her perspectives as we were back then. Enjoy watching and welcome Mirjam.
A warm hello to everybody. My name is Mirjam Rolfe, and I'm happy to contribute to today's Women for Medals Tea Time. What a great initiative. When Tanja Winter asked me whether I would be willing to contribute a video to today's event, you know what was my first reaction? The first thing that came to mind was, I don't have time. So I decided to write back to Tanja telling her that unfortunately I wouldn't make it. But why are you watching this video right now, you might be asking? Well, that is a story we will come to a little bit later. Nowadays, nobody has time. We are all busy. In fact, time pressure is one of the most influential stressors. It produces poor well-being in leaders and employees alike. Even though the German Working Hours Act lays down the maximum length of the working day, 8 hours, and regulates overtime, most organizations in Germany have increased working time since 2005, according to Hans Böckler Stiftung. And a study done by the Federation of German Trade Unions in 2011 indicates that 63% of employees in Germany feel that their work has intensified over the last years and that they experience more time pressure. Research shows that employees who are confronted with time pressure report problems with balancing work and private life. Corona seems to have exacerbated this problem. Many leaders tell me that they are completely booked through from morning till evening. One call or meeting after the other. The pressure is on. Ladies, I think we should do something about this. When confronted with a huge problem, I tend to analyze it, to cut it in little pieces and deal with it piece by piece. So let's do this with our time problem. We start with the T. T stands for take time. Now you might be puzzled and think, it's weird. We just talked about the fact that nowadays leaders have more and more time pressure, and now I suggest you take time? Yes, indeed I do. In fact, I learned this lesson from my good friend Michaela. Whenever I ask her whether she has time to get together or talk on the phone, she answers, I take the time. So what does this mean, to take time? It means that we think the activity in question is worth our time. So taking time has to do with our values. My friend Michaela, for example, is convinced that meeting me will be worth her time because she values connection and relationships. So here's what you can do. Whenever you think, I don't have time, please think again. Would the activity in question contribute to one of your values? If so, take the time to do it. If not, don't. That's exactly what I did when Tanja Winter asked me about this video. After thinking, I don't have time, I took a few minutes to reflect on my values. Would I be missing out on something that is really important to me by saying no to her? And the result was, yes, I would. Because doing this video is totally in line with two of my most important values. Learning and inspiring others to develop and learn themselves. So that's why I said yes and took the time. Let's move on to the I. The I stands for improvise. To have more time available, it is important to let go of perfectionism. That saves us a lot of time. I grew up learning that perfectionism is key. In first grade, we learned how to write by fountain pen with ink. Every Wednesday afternoon, there was no school. Instead, we had homework. We needed to write and repeat words with the fountain pen. Each Wednesday at lunch, my stomach started to ache. I was afraid, because I knew that my mom was very strict. She wanted me to write perfectly nice without making mistakes. And I was not allowed to use the eraser or correction pen. When I made a mistake, she scolded me for not concentrating enough. Many years later, I was working as a freelance trainer. I gave a communications training to board members of a Hamburg company. I was very nervous. These were board members. I wanted to be professional. But while I presented something on the flip chart, I made a mistake. Luckily, I realized it and improvised, so I was able to continue. But I felt a little bad because of my mistake. After the training, one of the participants came up to me and I thought, oh, now he will complain because of my mistake. Instead, he told me, you know, Mirjam, when you made the mistake, from that point on, I was able to connect with you because you were human. Before that, you were almost too perfect for me. I am telling you this story to remind us that mistakes make us more human, make us more approachable as leaders. They don't mean we are unprofessional, quite the contrary. So let's adopt the 80-20 rule. And let's improvise more often. It can be fun. What about the M? M stands for me time. An exercise I like to do in coachings is the pie chart exercise. Coachees draw a pie chart and write all their different tasks in there. Organizing and planning, doing project work, attending meetings, talking to employees, strategic work, and so on. One thing that is almost always missing in that pie chart is me time. What do I mean by that? Well, I refer to the time to recover, to fully enjoy, to reflect. When there is time pressure, we as female leaders tend to sacrifice me time. This is sad and it's a problem because me time is so crucial for your health and well-being, for your results, and for the health and well-being of your employees. When you are more relaxed and healthy, you have more patience with your employees, you take better decisions, you are less involved in conflicts, you are more creative and innovative. All of which actually saves you time. So please reserve a piece of that pie for yourself. Finally, the E. It represents engage. By engaging, I mean being present. 100%. Yes, in this case, the 80-20 rule we discussed above does not apply. Ladies, from now on, when we are in meetings, when we are in conversations, let's be 100% present. Let's not think about the meeting that went wrong before. That's in the past. Let's not worry about the presentation we will have to hold tomorrow. That's in the future. What really counts right now is the here and now, the present time. Let's focus on that. We are here now in this Women for Medals tea time, and we give each other the present of time. So, what's your story? To whom or what will you offer the present of time today, this week, this month? Thank you so much for having me. I wish you a great time discussing and exchanging ideas with your Women for Medals colleagues.
Thank you so much, Mirjam. Again, a lot I can resonate with. I could possibly write books about how to focus on 80-20 instead of perfectionism. Now we are about to focus on networking and on exchanging on how women in the metals industry lead and how they succeed. Therefore, I heartily invite you to join me now in the live session. For this, please use the link provided in the second calendar invite or post it here in the Q&As. So, see you in a few seconds.
Now I think Johanna will send us to the different breakout rooms, where in every room we will have a dear colleague of Aurubis who will facilitate a little bit. Of course, it's great if we can all start with a quick introduction, and then, just feel free and share and discuss and ask whoever you meet in that room, and whoever you can through this get to know and network. After the first session, we will then meet back here in this, let's say, big room again for a short while before we are leaving again to another group again, which will be, by magic, by coincidence, whatever, whom we are going to meet. And I'm sure that there will be both people we already know, but also some that we have never met and can now network with. So, Johanna, if you are ready, I think we are, and I wish everyone a great tea time focusing on networking. So, we are back together. Oh, hi, now I see everyone. This is perfect. Yeah. So I hope you all had a good ride into your breakout session, and indeed 12 minutes go by very fast, I have to say. But
I'm totally lost because I was in another room with other people, and I was speaking with them. So it was Inge, and I don't remember the other name, but
yeah, it was me. So what a pity that our time ended. For me, the same.
Okay, good.
But at least we've built up some short networking together and can get in touch with each other through sharing, I don't know, our contacts by LinkedIn. I mean, that's where we have a group, or in any other occasion. And we have another round upcoming that I'm very excited about. And I love to hear that you already had great discussions and it was too short of a time. Johanna, you will give me a sign when
yes, I will. I'm
ready for our next ride into the new virtual room.
I'm assigning in the background. So
I think it should work like as if we do a natural coming together, maybe a cup of tea, of course, at this stage, but can also be a glass of wine on one of the receptions on the LME dinner. And this is what we want to really express by this format today, that you feel a little bit like what it would be if you would be in London, get to know a lot of people, and this it's a bit bumpy, but it works, I think.
yes. So
Johanna is again working on it.
Yes, exactly. I'm assigning in the background and keep talking, Marion. I'll tell you.
I can keep talking. I think we also had really very interesting conversation here with, I see Monica here on the screen, and we also had a kind of an whatever mixed up with who was the person attending there, because we felt it was a man, but he was only giving the application. So this was something that that was coming up, but it was very nice, and we've been discussing about the two keynotes a little bit, and I think this is what we should all do. I mean, all talk with each other and telling each other about our ways that we've been dealing with over our careers, and generally spoken, I could really do a lot with Inge's speech. I don't know who else, probably you see it the same way, because it is so full of so many things that she did. I did it a bit like the opposite. I was doing sales first and then came into scrap, so that was the opposite way. But she had done so many other things. Really, I'm absolutely impressed about her way, and that is something that I would like to mention here, because I know her since she was starting and I was starting, so I'm just 10 years older. Maybe a little bit too late for this really big career, but you are in your age. I mean, there will be a lot of things happening that haven't happened over the last 20 years. I'm sure about that.
So now I don't want to interrupt you, but I could assign you, or I could open the rooms now.
Okay, that's great.
So,
thank you.
See you soon again.
See you soon. I must say that this was a real experience, because we didn't know how it would come out, and the waiting time is sometimes longer than the times that we are speaking. So it feels like that, because when we are in the groups, when we are talking, and then we are all quite talkable as women, that's normal. So I thank you very much that you have joined us to the networking session. And I would now like to ask you whether you would like to share something that you've got as an experience over the two keynotes that we heard, or something that you have on your heart that came up in the breakout sessions. Would anybody like to share that here in the group? That would be great.
Yes, so then I will just start talking. Yes, so I think it was a really great opportunity to have this tea time, and during both sessions there were really fruitful talks or discussions, and what I found really interesting was for the first group session where we talked about how important mentoring is in our not female-driven branch. So that is one thing that really should be more part of the development, of personal development maybe, and of human resources at all, so that maybe the women that want to reach more than a normal career, or that want to have a career, that they are more supported within the group with such mentoring programs. Yeah.
Okay, I can absolutely agree to what you are saying. Any other comments? How was the networking for you, Inge?
Yeah, it's just maybe commenting on you, Felicitas. I by coincidence got the question 2 weeks ago from one of our male colleagues, if I would want to do something similar as mentoring to one of our female colleagues. So it was nice to see that the initiative actually came from a male colleague.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else wants to share something here? We still have a little bit of time. Still a few minutes here. What are you taking with you? Caroline?
Yeah, maybe I can add from my second breakout room. We talked about the speech about the time, and this how Mirjam, Rolfe, just explained everything so nicely, and the three of us, we all agreed that it's really hard to take this me time and to make priorities according to our values or our targets, but nevertheless very fruitful to keep this concept in mind.
Yeah, that's very important. And to be, what came on my mind was also to be, when you take the time for something, then you really be present in that time, and not to think about what else do I need to do, because then you appear very unconcentrated, and the person you are dealing with doesn't feel comfortable with you. That's also something that you always need to do that at the same time. We all know how difficult that is, of course. Thank you very much for all of you, and for your openness, for your contribution, that you have been sharing this again with us. I am so glad that we could really do that this way, and I hope very, very much that next year we will all meet in London. Okay? The best.
Yeah, hope so too.
Best wishes here.
Yeah.
And if I pass on to Tanja now for her closing words. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion, and thank you all for being here with us. I could go on and on. I could spend my entire evening with you if I had a glass of wine here, but and alcohol is not allowed. So anyway, yeah, it's been a great time for me. Thank you again. Thank you especially Inge and Mirjam, who unfortunately couldn't join now, for their really inspiring keynotes. Thank you to our facilitators, our dear colleagues Steffi and Nienke, Caroline, Patricia, Laura and Felicitas. And also a big thank you to Angela, whom many of you have seen before, but who's on vacation this week. So fortunate for her in a way. On the other hand, unfortunate for her, she couldn't join. And Johanna, whom we've also seen now with her very nice turquoise masks. Thank you so much for all your support in preparing and executing this event. And last but not least, my dear Marion, who I heard again is a great mentor to colleagues of ours. And yeah, thank you so much for all your support and for being here and being such a great role model and mentor for many. And especially because Marion is actually turning into her at least a passive working time by beginning of next year. And I'm glad, Marion, that you said that you hope to see us all then again next year. So that means hopefully that you will continue, yeah, at least Women for Metals, if not in your role at Aurubis, but at least as Women for Metals, since this is a rather independent, how to say, network community. And I really hope that you will remain on board for all of us. And so I would be happy, whoever of you has feedback to us, like Inge said, taking feedback is essential. It's a great success factor. So we'd be pleased for any feedback, for any ideas, on how we can interact in the future, meet up or conduct events or anything. Don't hesitate to reach out to us, be it via LinkedIn, personally calling, or by email. And I would love to grow this baby further with every one of you. It's very close to my heart. So thank you.
Thank you, Tanja.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanja.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.